One morning in November 1962, Beatles manager Brian Epstein set out for Soho, in the heart of London, to look for a music publisher. Under his arm was an acetate of the Beatles' brand new single, recorded just the day before.
Last night I said these words to my girl. I know you never even tried, girl. Come on, 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 come on. Please, 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 oh yeah, like I please you.
Love Me Do had reached the top 20, but Epstein was looking for someone with more enthusiasm and push than he was getting from EMI's in-house publishing. In his pocket was a list of names given to him by George Martin of publishers he could trust. Arriving for his first appointment, Epstein was informed his contact hadn't shown up yet, but that he could play his song to the office boy if he liked. Furious, Epstein stormed out and strode to his next appointment, arriving 20 minutes early. Luckily for Dick James, he was ready and waiting. Dick James had been a vocalist for the London dance bands during and after the war. His biggest hit was this TV theme, produced, as it so happens, by George Martin.
Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men. Feared by the bad, loved by the good. Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Robin Hood.
By the late 50s, Dick James' crooning days were over, and he'd moved into management and publishing. He was a minor player, but he had excellent contacts and a reputation for fair dealings. When Epstein arrived, the two men got on well, and James loved the new song he was hearing. But Epstein needed to know what this poky little office on Charing Cross Road could do for him that the big boys couldn't. Dick James immediately phoned one of his contacts, the producer of Thank You Lucky Stars. He played the song down the phone and secured the Beatles' first nationwide television appearance there and then. 3 months later, Dick James, Brian Epstein and the Beatles formed Northern Songs. And even though he couldn't have realised it at the time, the struggling publisher had gained a controlling share in the most successful song catalogue in the history of show business. It was a once-in-a-lifetime break. But incredibly, not 10 years later, Dick James hit the jackpot again. By this time, he'd formed his own label, relocated to new premises, and even set up a makeshift studio in the basement. His son had joined the business and was urging Dad to look at the burgeoning troubadour scene. His instincts told him that the singer-songwriter, Cat Stevens, Carole King, James Taylor, could be to the 70s what 3 guitars and a drum kit were to the 60s. So Dick James placed ads in the trade papers for budding songwriters. When a young Bernie Taupin showed up one morning with some snatches and stories, he hit it off with a pudgy piano player called Reg Dwight, who was making himself useful in the basement. James signed the 2 songwriters, picked up the bill for 2 albums, changed the piano player's name, and promoted him on both sides of the Atlantic. In 1971, following a string of failed singles, a bashful little love song over a quiet piano managed to cut through the confusion in a post-Beatle world. It was a new sound for a new era.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live.
Dick James has been called the luckiest man in show business. But how lucky was he? He was certainly in the right place at the right time when Brian Epstein came calling. But both clients, the Beatles and Elton, ended up in court. And probably with so much money at stake, it was always going to end up there at some stage. Certainly there's no shortage of online commentary only too willing to label James as yet another example of rapacious management. But it has to be said, while Northern Songs might look like that from this vantage point, it was innovative and generous for its time. And while both sides claimed victory in the Elton John case, and James himself was absolved of all liability, he was nevertheless devastated that this very personal relationship had ended up in litigation.
I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world.
On the 1st of February 1986, 3 months after the court decision, Dick James suffered a massive heart attack and died at his London home.
I sat on the roof and kicked out the moss. Well, a few of the verses, well, they've got me quite cross. But the sun's been quite kind while I wrote this song. It's for people like you that keep it turned on. So excuse me for getting, but these things I do, you see I've forgotten if they're green or they're blue. Anyway, the thing is, what I really mean, yours are the sweetest eyes I've ever seen. And you can tell everybody this is the song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is while you're